All right, welcome everyone. This is a Viper Professional Training and Support webinar. Today's date is November 27th, 2017. This is a Monday night webinar. And the title of tonight's webinar is Wait for the Trade to Come to You. And as everyone knows that's been to our webinars or our live trading room, everything that we say and do at Viper Trading Systems is for educational purposes only. Futures trading, Forex trading, any kind of financial instruments trading involves risk. Therefore, there's always risk of loss. You should only trade discretionary capital, and that is money that you can afford to lose. Nothing said in this webinar. Other webinars we might have, our live trading room or anything else with Viper Trading Systems, should never be construed as trading or investment advice. And as always, everyone does trade at their own sole discretion. Any questions on the disclaimer? If not, we're going to go ahead and get started. All right. By the way, keep in mind that with my webinars, I do start on time. We're also here as a support staff to answer any questions too. So what I'm going to show you tonight is how to see and wait for the trade to come to you. Okay. Now, I think this is personally very important, and I'm going to show you something today that anybody that was in our room today, you saw this. Remember when we talked about gold? Remember, this was, wow, you had a bottle pop there. Oh, well, at least it wasn't a gun or anything. Remember when we were talking about this trade right here this morning? And I drew two ways that I would actually look at taking it. I wanted it to break, kiss, and take off, or I wanted it to break, come back down to support and take off, remember? And we still got these lines drawn on this chart exactly where I drew them this morning. So if you happen to have taken that trade this morning, called exactly where it was right here at this 1294.10 or 20 area right here, you got yourself easily a good 30 tick good trade. Okay, and that's what we're about at Viper. We want people to see these trades in real time and to be able to take them. Okay, because before that we were short with oil, with gold. We called that out also. But we're gonna go over some charts and everything. But anybody that's here tonight that was in the room this morning, you remember this, right? This was drawn on the chart exactly this morning. You know, we were looking for a trade, and we said that simply, I said I wasn't going to take it personally because it was already after 10 o'clock, and I've got a lot of things go on after 10 o'clock. We take care of a lot of sport and things like that. But there was your exact trade. I mean, just a beautiful trade. No heat on the trade whatsoever, right? So therefore, a very, very good trade. Okay. So, and that's not to brag, by the way. That is actually to let people know that with what we can teach you, you can see these exact trades on your charts, because it is super important to be able to see the trades on your charts. To be able to take a trade at the proper time is key to making money. If you can see the trades in real time and be able to be ready to take that trade like we teach. Kenneth, just a real quick, I know you're not on microphone or anything like that, but I'll relay it to the people. You've been with us for quite a while now, and I know at first you had some struggles, but from what I see nowadays, you just literally just clean up. And I think it takes that, epiphany moment, where somebody really starts seeing the charts. It's kind of like anything in life. You have to actually be able to see things in real time and before it happens, because you don't want to be the one that jumps in on the trade while others are taking a 10 tick profit. I mean, to give an example, what if you took that gold trade that I called in the room live and did 4 contracts on it instead of 1? And I'm not saying to do that, by the way, but what if you did? You'd have a $400 bill in a heartbeat and then be able to ride a runner. Exactly right. Even 2 contracts, 30 ticks, a $600 trade. Okay, and that's exactly what I'm here tonight to show you. But what I want to go over first is you've got to know the direction of your trend. It's super, super important. Okay, there are 4 trends on your charts. We've got them listed as, let me get that off that's actually black behind there, so it obviously disappears. Power meter 1 is lightning 1. Power meter 2 is lightning 2, power meter 3 is 3, and power meter 4 is lightning 4. Okay, so when you're ready to take a trade, always check out your power meter. Check out what is the overall direction of the trend. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to see that this is actually heading which direction. I'm kind of drawing it for you. See what I mean? So, that's the whole idea. You want to know what direction the trend is in. Okay, it's an uptrend, right? Now look over to the left, just a little tougher one, but I think you'll be able to see it too. All right, let's draw some lines on this chart first off. I'll just draw from here to here, and then back up to here, and then back down to here. Now that's on the left side of the chart. But what's the right side of the chart doing? Well, actually, it's kind of taking out resistance, isn't it? And that's usually the first sign that you're going to get that you're going to actually go, literally to a full-fledged trend change. Okay. And, by the way, Charles does a beautiful job of teaching trend changes. I'd highly recommend you, pick up a webinar or two of his, because they'll really strengthen your ability to trade correctly and everything. Okay. But we're not breakout traders. Okay. If you're trading breakouts, you're having to put some pretty heavy stops. Okay. To give an example, let's say that you got up at 544 and you took this little breakout trade here and you put your stop underneath here. To me, that's an extremely risky trade, because you're actually taking what we call a breakout trade. We like retracement trades. Okay. And what I see is I see a line here. That's a little a priori swing. I see a line here, but it's not really established. See what I mean here? You don't really have an established area right here. So I'll just draw a line right here. It's pretty much, well, let's change this to white. Go ahead and leave it as our default for right now, and then we'll change it when we go to the other charts. Okay, so, right now you're pretty much in a range, right? But I'd be looking for what type of trade, everyone? Anybody? A retrace trade. Okay, now, since this is still somewhat in a downtrend, especially with the 3 meters, you could also do something like this, couldn't you? Take a trade if it happens to break that trend line. Probably protect some coin here at this line, and if it comes on down to here, keep on trucking down. But if it bounces off of here, you may be surprised that it may even go long. Okay, because that is support right there. Okay, everybody see what I'm talking about right now? Always look at your meters and look what is actually happening on your chart. This was pretty much a little uptrend right on YM. That's a deeper retracement, but all they technically did was took out this little bit of support right here at 83 by, say, 8 ticks, and then they popped it back up. Wouldn't your guess be that more than likely when they actually come down and test some support area, they're going to bounce again? So let's look at the actual chart. Now, this is actually looking at the lightning only on the chart rather than seeing the bars and everything. But I've got the actual charts. These are real charts right here, by the way. And, some of these trades you're going to see that were called in the room in real time. Okay. So let's go ahead and take these down, and we'll just go with the regular chart. Now, doesn't our software pretty much end up beautifully on this? You're seeing that you do have a green background, right? You've got a green background. That's pretty important, isn't it? You've got a green background. So what are you looking for right now? Anybody? Wouldn't you be looking for a retracement of some kind? So what I like to do on my charts, first off, is I draw on them. Okay, I see a thrust, retrace, thrust, retrace, thrust. So that's a swing. And of course, you can see it real easy if you draw lightning. Let me get rid of this, and I'll draw lightning. Let's go back to we'll go with navy. We don't need that line there. I just want to be able to draw it. Let's draw this lightning. Draw it from up here. Okay. So that's actually drawing lightning too, because see, you haven't actually gotten except here on the green. So what I do when it won't draw any better than that, I erase it. And then what I do is I either draw it in my mind, but I'm going to draw it manually for you so you'll see it. So you basically got a series of a high, higher set of low, right? Higher high, right? And then even a higher low again, as you can clearly see. And then it just really broke up, didn't it? I mean, if you were up at 2 o'clock in the morning, that was pretty much a thrust straight up. So where's your identified swing on this particular chart? Anybody? Anybody at all? Draw your line on your chart. It's right there. Everybody see that? 497. Now, if I was actually looking to take this trade after a retracement, okay, wouldn't I, if this is going to head up, be looking for a higher low than this, or at least no lower than this? Everybody see what I'm talking about? So I like to draw lines on my charts, something like that. Now I'm looking for this trade actually, if at all possible, to bounce off of that line. But keep in mind that until this actually decides to start going back the other direction, you also could have shorted this thing right through here. See it? See that trend line right there? I'll change this color of trend line so you can actually see a little bit easier. See that? Where you could actually draw that trend line and actually have shorted this. By the way, Stealth would have gotten that also. Okay? But what you want to do is you want to draw on your charts and keep in mind that if this is going to continue up, it cannot take out 497. Okay? It cannot do it. If it's going to head up, it's got to hold 497. I don't care how deep it comes, but if it takes out 497, it could easily be heading down. Now, also keep in mind, though, that if you wanted to take this trade short when it breaks this swing right here, you could also do it. See how it's breaking that swing right there right now? If you wanted this trade on the short side, you could certainly do it, but I would have wanted to do it up here instead. But let's go ahead and just try a quick short, and we'll only go for like 5 or 7 even, because we've got an uptrend so far. So let's see if we get a little trade, and I'm going to do a bar close down. Let's just see what it does. Why is the yellow dot not considered the swing? Well, Mindy, on your question, remember that Lightning 3 has to have 15 swing strength. And if you've got this little bit of retracing and everything, you never get that. So the way we set Lightning up to have to draw is you have to have a yellow one to a green one to a yellow one to a green one to a yellow one to a green one. And you'll notice on here that there's no yellow to green until you get all the way up here. Then there's a yellow here. See what I mean? So if you draw Lightning 3, you won't be able to draw it the way you want to be able to see it. I still look at the chart though, and I look at my swings, my thrust, my retrace, my thrust, my retrace, my thrust, because you still, if you can't draw it with Lightning 3, then just be sure and look at the thrust, the retrace, the thrust, the retrace, and draw it in your head or draw it with the lines actually, like I did just now. Now see, we did get a little trade so far. Okay, we could actually come down here. There's a little swing right across here at 497. See it there to the left. But remember what I said, that if this trade is going to head up, it cannot take out 497. And if you remember in the room this morning, I showed a little box on this where I'd actually taken a trade myself on it. And it's exactly the way we teach it too, okay? Because I wasn't up at 559. Matter of fact, today I think I got up about pretty close to 7-ish, if I remember right, because the alarm went off. I had a good long weekend. I just decided to let it go off some more. I didn't particularly want to get up that early. Okay? But regardless what time you get up, the beauty of trading our system is you can always see a trade on your chart. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and move this stop just a little bit because I see lightning right there. Everybody see that right there? And we are getting a little phantom so far. Let's see if it bounces here or if we go deeper. But we're riding a runner, aren't we? Just simply riding a runner. Now, by the way, what you can also do if you want to get these trades that go a little deeper but don't take out support, like this right here, if you drew your lines, you can clearly see you've got this action going on right here. That is your identified swing. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't take this trade here, even up in here. See that stealth right there that turned red? If you take a stealth like that turns red, just don't let it go back against you. Because stealth would have nailed that trade on, I think, this bar right here. Is I believe where that would have hit. Maybe it might have been on this one. Hopefully not, because I would have taken it on the break of the trend line. Okay, it looks like we can bring our stop down, doesn't it? If that'll go ahead and close. Like so. But what are we actually ready to do on this chart? Anybody? Because so far this is clearly an uptrend. Now, if I remember right this morning, if this goes a little bit lower, it's going to change that background to red. It's also going to change the midband to magenta. But I'll show you a little secret that I go by. Well, it's not even a secret because I've told it in plenty of webinars. But here's what I like to look at personally on, see where you have this thrust up, midband, thrust up again? Okay, this is what I consider to be like a first swing before the upper swing here. Okay, so if midband doesn't come below that, then more than likely you're still heading up. I use that quite a bit myself because you'll notice a lot of times they'll go deeper. For instance, this is a Fibonacci. See, this is 61% right here at this line. And you would actually expect it to bounce there, wouldn't you? Unless it's going to continue breaking down. Okay? But we know for a fact, just by looking at our chart though, we have an uptrend until it takes this out, because this one technically was just barely identified. Doesn't mean we can't short this line, but we're also looking for a bounce if it comes down close to here. Okay? And I'll show you how to use a feature that we've got with lightning that you can actually take this trade to that I like pretty well. Trend lines, any way you want to take it, there's some really good ways to take this trade. Matter of fact, I'll show you one. I see a trend line pretty much setting up right now. Everybody see that trend line right there? That will actually take my trend line back to the upside. See how that gave me a little higher low? Just like I expected. And if this touches 2 ticks above that line, it should go ahead and fire. Now, if it doesn't, then I didn't set my wedge quite right. And it didn't, so let's see if we can set our wedge again. We'll go ahead and do it right there. By the way, stealth will also turn green, which is a good way to take a trade too. Now, personally, when I showed this morning, this is where I took this trade right here. See how that came down and perfectly gave us a higher low? And you can get your targets out of the way and everything. Everybody see what kind of tools we've got here, though, that you'll be able to utilize and make some really, really good decisions. Let me show you something here real quick. We used the wedge just a second ago. Let's go ahead and use stealth. And we'll add one just for the fun of it. Turn on stealth. And notice that stealth has not turned green yet, because it hasn't figured out the amount of bars and things like that and the slope and everything else. It hasn't figured out if it's going green just yet. But let's see if we can get a green. It looks like it's going to be a pretty decent little trade, doesn't it? Now, I like to draw on my charts as I'm going, and you know I do in the room because I draw on them all the time. So you have a thrust, a retrace, a little thrust, retrace. This swing is not identified here until it takes this out. So this is your swing right here when it takes this out. Okay, so I would expect if it's going to pull back at all, it should bounce off of that line that I've got drawn there. See how Stealth added one? It's a pretty cool little tool. By the way, you can even use it again if you want. Just turn it on, and if it happens to come in and make a vacated spot in Stealth, it'll add another one for you if you want it to. Now, does everybody see so far also how if you wait for the trade to come to you, diagnose your chart properly, and take the trade at the proper time and everything, that you can get some really, really good trades. Now, we took that trade a little later than I wanted it because I was trying to show the wedge. Okay, but if you use the box trade that we have called region, you could also take that trade right there with region. Now, let me ask a quick question too. Does everybody pretty much know where your next trade is just by simply drawing on your charts? Because if you can get yourself taught to where you can actually see, you know, for instance, let's say that you were looking at this right here. You've got a higher low, higher high, higher low, barely higher high. I don't count that. That's my swing. Okay, even though this all turned red like it did, this is still long stuff to me. I mean, literally, if you weren't even in this trade at all, you know, and I saw this happening right here, I'd draw a region around it, like so, and take the trade. You could wait for a touch. Well, we just got it. Okay, everybody see that? You can also add with Object Trader. You can do all kinds of things with it. Okay, now this was before the open of the market. So if anybody remembers, right about the market time, you want to either be out of a trade or have your stop in waiting for the market, right? But what do you expect if this is going to head up from here even? Let me draw it for you and I'll show you. You got a thrust. You got a retrace, right? We got to take this swing out to ever identify that, right? Not quite enough yet. Let's let it go up a bar or so more. I'm going to get this stop a little bit lower while I'm talking, teaching. What do we expect if this is going to go up? Remember, this is right at the open of the market. We watched this in real time this morning. But see what you're seeing even right now? Let me just draw it as it's happening. What is this right here? Now it's got to take out this swing to identify this. This is your identified swing, just barely. Everybody see that? Now watch what happens so that you can tell to stay in a trade. Okay, because we called this trade this morning in the room. I know everybody heard it, and it was called at a beautiful spot. Just testing support. Still a higher low than right here, right? So far. So we're going to take our line on down to there. Everybody see that? High, low, higher low. What if you weren't even in this trade now? Couldn't you just simply get ready to position Object Trader and take the trade? It's clearly an uptrend, isn't it, so far? See? Just use Object Trader to get in the trade, and you'll find yourself getting some really good trades. Let's go ahead and draw our line again. Hasn't taken out the high yet. We don't know this is our identified swing yet, right? This is our identified swing. We will know it's the identified swing when it takes this swing out right over here to the left. And it's getting, nope, not yet. Let it go ahead and do its thing. There you go. Isn't that your identified swing now? See there? Is that a low, a high, a higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, right? That's what you just got to be able to draw in your mind. You don't have to draw it on your charts, but you got to see it in real time. Okay? Because if anybody remembers what happened on this particular trade this morning, and we called this trade live in the room, well, you'd want to take some coin right up here, right? Right at your swing. Or you simply watch it and see if it blows through it. If it blows through it, don't take anything off the table yet. Also, we got tools built into Object Trader where I can actually go ahead and use, see this line 6 right here? I can actually use that as my trail stop. And you'll see it actually engage and pop right up there. See there? You could use line 5. See, that's line 5 right there. And you could literally just ride this thing all the way for the gusto if you wanted to, with lightning. Now, so far, I've been in this for 30 minutes, okay? Everybody's seen some, very decent trades and everything, right? Now, let's go ahead and I'm going to see if everybody in this room can also pick another trade. Okay, bear with me a second. Okay, doing the same thing, and we're going to change charts. Now, what is this right here and here on gold as we're looking right now? Come on, draw, ninja. There you go. What is that right there? Okay, that is actually a spot of resistance, right? See how you could literally take that trade? If you could see that in real time, you could actually have taken that trade, and that's a $70 trade per contract already, just simply by drawing on your chart. Okay? But lots of times they'll give you a second chance too. Let's see if we can get a predictor. The way I see this particular chart right now, okay, we've got support right down here, right? And it bounced off support a little bit. It's got resistance right up here, right? And it's got resistance right up here. See it to the left here, looking to the left to trade the right. So let's see if we can get a little trade. And just for the fun of it, we're just going to go for a couple of contracts. Predictors run out of time, so you should get another predictor. Hasn't showed our other predictor just yet. Everybody see what I'm doing here so far though? I'm looking for a short trade as close as I can get to this mid band and my resistance areas. So I've got a little area drawn on my chart. Beauty of Object Trader, you can change anything anytime you want to with Object Trader. There's our predictor right there, by the way. And there you just happen to get yourself into a little trade. Everybody see where I'm putting my targets and everything? Okay. Now, where would I put my stop? See how easy that is to do in real time? Now, does this mean that this won't take this out a little bit, possibly go to even mid-band? It very well could, see, because I'm down $60 on the trade. But where's my swing? My swing's at $12.95.30. If it takes out $12.95.30, this isn't heading down anymore. Okay? Because look, thrust, retrace, thrust, retrace, thrust. That's an identified swing. Had somebody in the room this morning say they dream about identified swings now. The most important thing you can teach yourself is how to see identified swings in real time. Because if you can see them in real time with 4-range charts or even your own particular chart, just don't get too large, you'll make a world of difference in your trading. Would you bring your stop down? Well, it automatically went down to break even. It automatically did. I'd probably take some coin right here, for instance. I'd let a runner run, like so. There you go. Now, what if you weren't even in this trade? You want to see if we can do this exact same thing? Let's look and see if we can figure out where the absolute next trade is. You want to? All right, draw your thrust, retrace, thrust. That's resistance right there. Everybody see that? Okay, it's already tested here. It's already tested here. It has not tested here at 93.90. Okay, so you want to see if we can get something? It might be a predictor even. We'll find out. Right now we've got two predictors. We're looking for a third one. Let's see if we can get one. I'll just go ahead and set it. But see, you've got to know where the trade is on your chart. For instance, if this is going to head down, this needs to be a lower high. Then it needs to have another lower high. Then it needs to have another lower high, right? If it's going to head down. Okay, right now you're barely taking out that low, so that makes me a little more nervous. But it did take out the low enough to identify that swing. That is your identified swing right there at 94.90. This is resistance right here, where this broke down, came down and kissed the bottom, and it should hit its head right in this area right here. And predictor will tell you by the price action where it should be. And I'm going to just simply take it if it doesn't come up any higher than like right there. That's a swing. So let's see if we can get it. And of course you could have ridden a run or two. I wanted to show you how you can still pick out another trade on this chart though, because our software will do a pretty good job of doing that. I'm going to speed this up just a little bit. Does anybody have any questions so far of how you can literally be able to see on your charts where your trade's at? And how to tell when they're going to change trend directions, because that's ultra important. You know, for instance, in my mind's eye, I'm already looking at this right here as a trend change. If it breaks this, it's going to come back and kiss it and head up. If we get a lower high, then if it breaks it and kisses it, it's going to go up. You see what I'm getting at? And you've always got to be able to see it in real time. And that's how that trade right there was nailed. This is that same chart, by the way. This was the trade I called right before we shut the room down. And if a person took this, that was a good little trade. But look when Stealth said, wow, this thing's starting to head up. Could you take Stealth instead of, waiting for this? Well, the way I recommend doing that is if you do it that way, don't let it go against you that much. Okay? 7 ticks or something like that. To give an example, see, this is that same chart that we just looked at, that little gold chart right here. And where is your identified swing at the time that I drew the chart? Well, let's see if it's, 1294.10? Let's look at it, because we drew that in real time. And so far, you're still getting a little downtrend. We just got our trade, by the way, so let's go ahead and move a target down, move another target down. I like to draw trend lines on my charts. Something like right down through there. Let a runner go. See how it's hitting resistance exactly perfectly where I drew my line? This is what will make the difference in whether your trading goes somewhere or not. Okay? Because if you can learn to see this in real time, then you can be not only a good trader, but actually a phenomenal trader. Okay, see how it's trying to make a fresher lower high? Everybody? And see how quickly you can turn into some pretty decent money? Just like Kenneth was talking about just a minute ago, 12 times his goal was $6,000 today. But if you could do $2,000, to give an example, in a day, you've literally changed your income for sure, because most jobs don't pay $2,000 a day. Everybody sees that, right? Because we're not talking about $2,000 a month. We're talking about if you could do somehow $2,000 a day, then that's $10,000 a week. That's $520,000 a year, and that's very, very more than very, very decent income. Okay. Now I usually like to put my stop with the swing. See the swing right there? And we'll go ahead and get our runner out of the way. Now see our little trend line? I'd watch that. And we've also got a predictor right down here too that's telling you it should possibly bounce off this line. See that predictor? Now I would probably stop out if it takes out my identified swing. Everybody see that right there? Now, let's go over exactly how that gold trade was called ahead of time, okay? Because if you remember this morning, when this gold was actually heading down like it was and everything, I kept telling everybody, you know, we're right at support. Be careful. We're right at support. Be careful. Okay? They barely take out these support areas to the left, to give an example. You know, even if they take them out by 8 or 9 ticks, see here like this, that's usually an indication that they're going to head back up. See, because they broke support, bounced off support right there. Now, if you were to use this little swing right here, if this was to break above that little resistance area, that wouldn't be a bad trade, would it? But it's a risky trade. Okay, so what you're looking for, if this was going to change trends, I'll draw it and you'll be able to see it in plenty of time ahead of time. Okay, because we did this in real time. We simply drew that we were wanting to break this area right here, right? Come back and kiss this area right here, and then take off. Remember? That way you don't get into those little breakout trades. Now you can do another trade down here with stealth, to give an example. See how the stealths are all red so far? Well, if you get a green stealth, they could easily be heading back up too. Okay? Because so far you can see that you barely took out these lows, and you're also getting ready to take out where I got out of the trade this morning, which was lightning. Okay? Now stealth will get you in a little bit earlier, but it's still considered a little bit more of a breakout trade. Okay? But you'll see stealth change here in just a moment, and it will actually fire the trade automatically because I've got the long turned on. Okay? But again, like I said, that's a risky trade. Okay? The trade I personally like is that one right there. Let it come up a little bit. It doesn't have to come that high, but it just has to thrust above and come back and kiss. Now, could you have been in this trade even from down in here? Yes, you could. Now, notice how that stealth actually went and fired the trade. Okay? That's still a little breakout trade, though. Okay? Because stealth's going to turn green just as soon as that bar closes. Okay? And like I said, that's not my favorite trade because that's a little bit more of a breakout trade. You could even do this trade right down here if you wanted to. Take the break above. You know, and if it happens to go back down below it and close, just get out of the trade. You know, you can use trend lines a lot of times on charts, even against the trend. But most of everything we teach, by the way, is with the trend. Okay. Now watch and see. This was pretty close to 30 minutes, 20 minutes before the room closed. Let me just show you the trade that actually set up. Let's just go ahead and close this trade out. We'll wait, and I'll show you how you can watch for a trade and see where it's coming back to. Because where a trade is coming back to is super, super important. And that's the way you're going to change the dynamics in your trading. Don't take the breakout trade. Now, a lot of times they will work. And what I recommend doing if you're going to take a breakout trade is don't let it go back against you. because most of the time they're going to be fakes, especially if they break an entire area. To give an example, let's say if you were looking at this and said, you know what, I'm not taking this until it breaks 1294.90. Okay, if it breaks 1294.90, you'd take it. Well, what will it probably do? It'll break 1294.90 and come all the way back here and then take off. Very possibly. Okay, but we do another little thing called boxing it in, which is another great way to trade. Anytime you get around this mid band, you can simply click your region. You can clearly see you're breaking resistance here. So I'd be looking more long than short myself anyway, because it is breaking this resistance right here. See, just barely. That doesn't mean it won't roll over, but I wouldn't personally take this rollover unless it does a little lightning dance down. But you just simply hit insert and set the trade up. One of these days we're going to have it to where you can set up different ways at one time. See, right now I've only got a region. I'd like to be able to have a ray on that chart. I'd like to be able to have even bar close. So in other words, whichever one fires first, that's the trade I want. Here's a little support right here, by the way. I'll even do that. Well, we already got it, so we're good. Always look to the left to trade the right. If you remember right, we drew the line on the chart in the room live this morning. Anybody remember where? Look to the left to trade the right. And I'll just about bet you it hits its head right up there because I drew the lines in the room this morning. Now keep in mind, gold, if you did 3 contracts and you have like a 12-tick stop, that's $360, right? But you do have to let it do its thing to where you can tell where lightning is, and you've got to be getting higher sets of lows and highs if it's going to break up, right? So couldn't you put your stop just underneath that swing right there? Exit on close? Sure you could. Absolutely could. Now, real quick, I've been talking for 42 minutes. Does anybody have any questions on how to see the next trade on your chart? Because if you're confused on it at all, I'll take whatever time it actually takes to explain it to you, because our whole goal at Viper is giving back. You know, we went through the school of hard knocks. We taught ourselves how to trade. We built the software to go with it and everything. And I think the figure is somewhere around 95% of retail traders fail. 5% get into the category where they make money. We're interested in making everybody that 5%, because there's a lot of money in trading. And there's a lot of people that can turn it into not only a fairly good living, they can turn it into a great living. Okay? Now, what if you missed this trade that I just did with the little box? Where do you think this thing's going to come back? Draw your lines on your charts. Where did it break out from? It broke out from that little swing right there, right? So don't you think more than likely it's going to kiss really close to that? You want to just try it? We'll just leave it with no trade on the books whatsoever, and I'll just see if we can get it. Let's see if we can get it. Need a higher low. See there, a little higher low. Did that turn out? Well, we don't know yet. We're feeling a little bit of heat, but not much. Everybody see what I'm looking at here? I've got a little support area there at 1294.10. So I just simply snapped the button. Let's see, isn't a box trade really a kind of a breakout trade? Well, Chris, on your question, it is, but keep in mind that we don't draw big boxes. You're still looking at a little breakout trade. Yes, that's true. But you're looking at a lot tighter stop on a tight consolidation patch for sure. Okay, everybody see that, where you could just pop that trade in? Where do we think it's going? Well, look to the left to trade the right. I'd want to take out that swing right there, and it's getting ready to. And I'd look to the left to trade the right, and I see another swing right across here, like so, and I see another one right there. So I would do this. I'd do a runner. I'd put one of them right there. Let me see, I accidentally moved that line. I'd put another one right there. Get that line out of the way. And then I put my stop just underneath that consolidation patch with exit on close. From 8:45 on, it looks choppy to me, yet you saw trades. I'll have to rewatch this webinar. Mario, on your question, these were actually live trades called in the room too. You know, this particular trade, matter of fact, I went ahead and saved a screenshot. This is the exact trade I called on gold as we were closing the room up. This was right at 10 o'clock. And I simply drew it before it ever came down here, by the way. Okay. I drew it more when it was in this area here, because I said I wanted it to break above, I wanted it to pull back and kiss, and I wanted it to take off. That's the trade right there. And that was called live in the room. And the line even over there at 1297.30, 40 area was also drawn in real time too. See, that's the swing right there at 1296.70. There's another swing up here to the left, right there at 1297.40. You remember that, huh? And you know, like I said, that's not to brag about a trade, because we do 20 to 25 trades every single day on trade calls, and we're usually in the 85, 95 percentile lots of times. And we teach the method that we teach, and it really, really works. I mean, could I trade this if I change this to a minute chart? Let's just put gold on like 5 minutes. Because this is what most everybody out there is trading, is like a 5-minute chart. Could I trade that as easily? Well, sure, you could have boxed this in and got that short, right? But where would you have gotten this trade that I called really, really good to begin with? What do you think? A lot easier to see this, isn't it? I mean, it's just tremendously easier to see this here than this stuff here. I don't even like these kind of charts anymore. I used to trade a 1 minute, a 3 minute, and a 10-minute guidance. And you talk about confusing. You know, let's take that up to 10 minutes to give an example for your guidance. Okay? Well, where would you have taken that trade right there? You know, for instance, it did pop off of this little area. I didn't put my lines on, so let's just draw it. Let's draw a little line right across there. See, it pretty much held that support with wicks, right? So could you have taken it when it popped back above it? Yes. With a 5-minute chart. But isn't this so much easier to see in real time? Stealth actually shows up telling us that the trend's trying its dead level best to change. This trade was called exactly like that chart right there. And again, right after that room closed, that's exactly where it hit, and it went exactly where I said it would. So if a person could take that trade in the room, that trade alone with a couple of contracts would make your day. Such long, yeah, wicks, you know, and the thing about wicks, it's a lot easier to see wicks on a 4 range or even a 5 range or even a 6 than to look at, you know, minute with, you know, just long hanging wicks. I don't like them. Now, can you use something like a Renko bar? To give an example, if you looked at this right here, let's look at that same chart on a Renko bar. I'll go ahead and go with Object Trader Ranko, and we'll do a 4, an 8, and a 2. That should probably be a pretty good chart. And let's go ahead and put the template on it so that everybody can see it. Bear with me a second, I'm putting the template on. Okay, here's your, well, it's loading still. Give it just a second. There we go. See how that actually bounced off the bottom? You basically had a bar closes up. It breaks a trend line right across here. It's the same trend line, by the way, as the 4 range. Could you have actually taken that trade when it broke that line? Yes. Was that just testing support right in through here? And the answer is yes. See the wicks? So the overall trend was pretty much up once it took this resistance back out, wasn't it? You know, even though it took it out a little bit and you got some good moves short, it still gave you great moves to the upside. But always look to the left to trade the right, and you're going to see where they're going to hit their heads, even with this larger chart. Everybody see that? See the swing right there and there? And watch it in real time and see. I've got it on market replay. Mindy, the one question on that, you're right. I do see it, you know, real easily, but that's also what I try to teach people, the absolute best that I possibly can, so they can see the same thing. Because it'll make a world of difference in a person's trading. Because let me show you something. To give an example, notice where your identified swing is right here. Could you short that? And the answer is yes, if it takes it out, right? Because as soon as this quits doing the stair-stepping up, it's going to start stair-stepping down. And even though my background's green and all that kind of stuff, could I actually take a trade if it breaks this? And the answer is PM1 or PM2. Let's see, we got 2 bars. Yeah, we'll do PM2 since it's got 2 bars up. Could you literally do something like that? Ride this thing all you want. And if this happens to turn red, to take a short, yes. Because the whole idea of stair stepping, just like I've showed in, you know, not a million webinars, but a lot of them, this little chart right here. Remember this one? You know, this is obviously uptrends only, but when would this actually change trends to the downside? This one right here, to give an example. Well, you could draw a trend line. I can't do it because it's not a chart, but see where the trend line is right there? See right there and along those lows? But when does it actually break down? It breaks down if it starts stair stepping with lower highs and lower lows. And when it takes this out, it's for sure heading down, right? Same thing over here. If it takes out this swing right here that's identified, could this actually give you a trade the other direction? Now, if you go against the trend, what I highly recommend doing is just let your stop go out on your chart here, but then set up another chart with Object Trader. And I'll go ahead and do it with a 4 range chart. And what you could do is simply set your stop where you want it, but you could have another chart that's ready to go. Well, it already did it. So, well, it shouldn't have done that. I'm not sure exactly. Did I have bar close on? PM? Well, PM actually says it went short, so we'll go ahead and take the short, but I'm gonna kill it because it's getting a higher low. Let me show you over here. What you could do is simply draw like a trend line, to give an example. use wedge. I like to draw that trend line, and then I like to draw another trend line. See the low, the low? Could a person take that trade right there? Well, the answer is yes. Now, we don't have it yet because it hadn't taken out the low. Okay? But that is a good trend line. And remember, I said it would go up here. We had the line drawn on that gold chart, as a matter of fact, from earlier this morning to right up there, and it should hit its head. So could you be ready to take a retracement trade on this trade, even though the background's green and everything? Yeah, use your trend lines or use lightning. You know, see, right now we've got a trend line drawn, but I could also use lightning. Let's say, for instance, I wanted to simply use lightning instead. I just turn on PM1 and turn on a few contracts. I figure it's going to hit its head right here. But if it does take out the swing right here, that's identified. It's not identified just yet because see, it hadn't closed above it. So let's see if we can get that trade. That's not identified yet. This is your identified swing. But the closer you start getting down to mid-band, you don't want to take them. You know, always look at your little thrust, retrace, and look at your identified swings, because those will make a huge difference in where you can get a lot of the trades, for instance, that some of our really, really good traders take when they hit their head at resistance. Even if the background's green, they may short it because they see, for instance, that's where we expect it to go, right? So if it starts stair-stepping down, wouldn't it do something like this? It would go down, it would get a lower high, and then it would break. Okay, that's what you're looking for if you're a more of an aggressive trader that wants to get out at like lightning swings, to give an example. Because when they break them, you've heard me say 1,000 times, if you break micro trend, you're going to check medium. I can just, you can almost take that to the bank almost every single day. Now that closed up, so it closed a little above here. So this is your identified swing right now. See that one right there? Now if it holds, it'll go on ahead and pop up and test our resistance. Okay, now I got that earlier than I wanted because let's see, close, PM. I'll go ahead and take it though. But where would I have to put my stop? Well, my stop in this case would have to be above this line because that's resistance. Okay, and it's going to hit resistance. You can count on it. I'm not sure exactly why that power meter. Oh, I picked number 1. No wonder. I wanted number 2. So let's redo it. We'll go ahead and do number 2. See, that's power meter 1 is a little bit too fast. But watch and see if this didn't happen, and watch your identified swings. Because if you remember right now, Charles and I got out of this trade earlier on gold to begin with, and we didn't take this particular long trade, but I drew it on the chart exactly where to take it. But watch and see if it doesn't do in real time exactly the way we teach it. Right now, you've got lightning swings heading up. Everybody see that? High, low, higher, high, higher, low, higher, high. You know, is this your identified swing now? And the answer is yes. It is your identified swing. So if they break it, could you take a quick trade on it? I'd do it still the same way that we teach, though. I would wait for this. I'd wait for it to break. I'd wait for it to come back and kiss. And then I'd take it. However far it goes. You don't know how far it's going to go until it breaks. But you can also use the lightning feature that we've got built right into Object Trader, because if that turns red, we could simply get a short trade. PM2, Mindy, keep in mind that all you got to do is have 2 bars. If it gives you 2 bars, then you've got a lightning 2. Where with lightning 1, you literally just have to have one bar. Could you also, I mean, you can clearly see this right here. Look at this. Could that be a trade if it breaks that line right there? That's a trend line. And the answer is yes. See it break that trend line? I'd probably put my target somewhere around mid-band because this is a counter trend trade. And you could always run a runner, like so. Now see, that hasn't actually turned yet, so this is going to give me one more contract if that goes red. Watch the power meter and see if it goes red. See, you just went red on it, so you got a fourth one. Every trade on the books period will either stair step up or it's going to start stair stepping back down. And can you take trades against the trend? And the answer is yes, but just be very, very careful with them and make sure that they are breaking what we call the identified swings. Because if they don't break the identified swings, you want to be really, really careful with them, okay? Okay, and more than likely, I would probably protect my coin on this if it even closed above that line right there. Because we don't know if it's going to bounce off of mid-band or not. So far, it's doing the old lightning dance down, right? You have a high, low, lower, low. If it hits its head right there, you could easily head down some more. Okay? But that's how you could actually see every single time on your charts how to tell where that next trade is. Yeah, and one thing, Mindy, on your question, we're going to be working on very, very diligently is getting lightning to where it's real time, even if it's already changed the color of the chart. I've got to get that done because that's going to be one of my favorite trades. I mean, if you think about it, if lightning goes green, like right now, to give an example, could we actually take this trade off the table? Sure, because we're actually bouncing off a mid-band so far. Okay, so you could easily take it off, or you could use resistance like I'm doing right now. You want to see real quick? We're a little past 8, but let's just see if it hit it. I'll speed it up. See there, it didn't even hit resistance yet. There's resistance. See, it hit a little lower. Wouldn't you bring your stop right there now? And you just got taken out. No big deal, right? And this is going to head down a little bit further. You want to see where the next trade is? Now, this is a long chart. So what do you think, everyone? Where do you think this will hit its head? Watch your predictors, and we'll see if predictor can actually grab the trade. And I'll quickly grab it if I see it. I'm going to speed it up because we're running out. We're totally out of time. But I'll grab it if I see it. Not yet. Pretty close. That's at a predictor, isn't it? I think I just missed it. Well, we'll see. We're still getting lightning to the downside. If it breaks that, I'll also go. That's resistance. We might get us a little phantom. What do you think? We might actually get us a little phantom. Let's see if we do. Support's right there. It did take it out a little bit. Thrust, retrace. Right here is another support level that they haven't checked. See it? Thrust, retrace, thrust. Always look to the left to trade the right. They already checked this one. See it right there? Looking to the where it bounced off of there. If they do a phantom, we'll take it either way. And guess what? You can just simply turn on like stealth to give an example. That's good to me. See it right there? Now, how many of you are afraid of that trade? That's a phantom trade. Does anybody see why I took that there? That's a perfect, what we call a phantom trade. 85% probability trade just happened right there. Does that mean you couldn't have been short like I was way up there at the top on that one? But keep in mind, we're retracement traders also. And this is, so far, an uptrend. So you're looking for retracements. That's what we call a phantom retracement. Now, what if you thought, well, you know what, if this thing still keeps heading down, where do I really want this? You know, for instance, if you boxed it in, you might already be long on it, right? But what if you decide you're a little bit less risky of a trader? Okay, let's see if we can get a little lightning swing, and we'll just take it. So you have a high, you have a low, you have a lower high. This would be considered more of a breakout trade, though, wouldn't it? Now, I'd jump in it again already, but let's take a breakout if it does. Just took a breakout. See why I did that? Took out lightning, identified swing. Okay, we're going to do this again tomorrow morning. And by the way, we invited some other people for tomorrow morning, so be sure and join us tomorrow. And I think you're going to find that we can draw on these charts at the proper times and get you in the trades at the proper times and get your P&L looking quite nice, because this trade was called in the room live before we even ever closed it, and it perfectly worked out to be a good $600 trade. Okay, and there were many others that were called before that. Could you have actually taken YM? Remember when YM actually broke down? Let's see, I don't have YM. Let me see if I got a, yeah, here's YM. Same analogy. And then we're going to go ahead and wrap. See your low, your high, your higher low, so just draw your lines. Everybody see it? You're starting to break down. Okay, you went higher, so now you got another low. Look at there. Just took out that identified swing. Okay? The beauty of trading this system is we'll try to keep you always on the right side of the trade. And if you just learn to simply see identified swings, and like some of our traders have said, dream about them if you have to. Learn to see all four trends on your charts. It'll make a huge difference in your bottom line. You got to be able to see power meter 1 through 4 without drawing them. But if you do need to draw them for a while, draw them. Okay? Thanks everyone for coming. I ran about 7 minutes over. I apologize for that. But I think you can clearly see that even after we closed the room, you could have gotten a monster drop. Anybody remember that? And if you remember right in the room, I actually drew on that chart. Remember where it broke up with those big Renko bars? Where did it come back to and check? Checked right on top of that swing, didn't it? And then broke back up above it. So could you have been short and then long? Yes. I had that line drawn in the room right there. Is this still an uptrend so far? Well, actually it is, because your swing is all the way down here. Okay, that doesn't mean you can't take, this is a nice short trade, right? But your overall trend for tomorrow more than likely is going to still be up. Okay, thanks everyone for coming. Hope you enjoyed it. Learn to see and wait for the trade to come to you, because it'll make a world of difference in your trading. You notice that we didn't just jump in that gold trade. I called it and then said, I'm not even taking it. But that doesn't mean it's not a good trade. It just meant I was too busy after the room closed to watch it. All right. Thanks again, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it. Does anybody have any final questions before I wrap? Well, Dennis, you're very welcome. I appreciate that. All right, everybody, have a great day, and we'll do this in the morning. Tuesday should be another good day. Good night, everyone. And I'll have this posted in a little bit, and I will also post it on the webinar link so that people that are on trial can watch it. Thanks, everyone. The fourth power meter, Kathy, is the Lightning 4. All right, again, thanks. Good night.